Couldn't be happier to have Michele Kajawara as our guest today on the Best Boss Ever podcast. She is an amazing leader, and she's an exception to the rule. She has been at the same company and literally step by step climbed the ladder and is now the Senior Vice President for Premium Seating Sales and Service at the Crypto.com arena, which anybody who listens to this show knows that is, I'm going to say, if not the busiest arena in the world, it is certainly among the top three. And that's a couple of sports teams, the Lakers and the Kings. That's every single A-list musical artist that has ever played an arena has come through Crypto.com arena. And Michele's group leads all of the, what I will call the higher end, if not the highest end, luxury / experience / opportunity to see a show from a very unique perspective or a game from a unique perspective. And if you've never been to Crypto.com arena and you get the opportunity, go, because it is one great place to see whatever is on the floor. So with that, Michele, welcome to the show. You're going to give us a little bit of an imprimatur about how this all came to be. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. That was quite the intro and quite the plug, too. If you want to jump over to our sales team, talk about experiences and getting over to Crypto.com arena, you are more than welcome.
Always looking for an opportunity, right?
All right. Well, we'll set up an interview.
Okay, perfect. Or maybe this is the interview, right?
This is, yes. We can make it.
So let's start early. You get out of school, you obviously want to go to work. You go to work, and then share with us those earliest days and then how you got to what was then Staples Center, now Crypto.com arena, and your trajectory, because it's an amazing story to me. And then along the way, would love to hear who the best boss or leader or mentor that you've had as you've, accelerated your career trajectory.
Lots of great nuggets within my story. I'll try my best to condense it. But once I graduated from USC down the road here, this area in downtown LA looked a lot different, felt a lot different, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I studied communication and just figured if I can effectively communicate, that will probably serve me well in any job. And we didn't have sports management back then. We didn't even have cell phones back then. So it was a little bit more of a raw landscape, and I thought that would be a really great major, and it was. After USC, I did a little bit of traveling. I lived in Tahoe for 6 months, and I lived in Hawaii for 6 months. So took a year off to go explore and enjoy being young, really, and seeing what interested me. And even though at the time I didn't know it, those experiences were really shaping the things that I would forever be gravitating towards. And now that I look back, I can understand sort of what my patterns were. And it makes a lot more sense now because I lived very much by listening to my heart and doing the things that felt authentic to who I am and what I enjoyed. So all that to say, after I did a little traveling and waitressing and exploring, I started as an executive assistant at an entertainment company called New Regency. Learned so much in that 1 year, worked for a really demanding producer, and had to figure out how to figure things out quickly. There was no playbook. I was really young. I started at reception. I was in the mailroom. Then I became an assistant. And I became her executive assistant because every day she saw me at the front desk. Every day, everybody saw me at the front desk. And all they knew about me without a resume was she's upbeat, she's helpful, she's resourceful, she figures things out, and she's somebody that culturally we want in our office. And so I got a couple job offers, but I ended up working for her, and that really gave me the first look at I can work a lot of hours, I can produce a lot in those hours, and I have an incredible amount of stamina and grit. And after 1 year, that job almost completely broke me. And so I left and I traveled again. And then I moved to New York. And once I was living in New York, I started working at Chelsea Piers. And that job, I started as, I think it was in PR. Yeah, I started in PR. And then I moved over to our banquet facilities. And I was a catering sales manager. And I started booking huge events. And that was during the .com boom. Lots of money in the city. was really fun. That's where I got my sales chops and I started to understand, wow, selling is my jam. Being able to speak passionately about things that I love and that I believe in and that can change someone else's trajectory, experience, perception, environment, all of those things. There's no amount of money that you could spend to justify that. And that just absolutely juiced me. And so I was working at the piers for about 4 years, and then 9/11 happened. I was traveling again at the time. Actually, I was in Thailand when 9/11 happened. And after coming back to New York, I really had to decide after 4 years, is this a place that I'm going to double down, or is this time to move back to California? And I decided it was time to move back to California. And after more searching and more traveling, I ended up getting an interview at Staples Center for a coordinator role in a service job. And I was like, wow, this is not the money I'm used to. This is not the job I wanted. And beyond that, I really couldn't get my arms around this being the next step. But what spoke to me again was my heart. And my heart was saying, this is the right place, this is the right time, and this could be something bigger than what you're anticipating. Even though it's not like perfectly gift wrapped for you right now.
Right.
And so I took it, and it was the greatest thing I ever did. And I started in service, got hired as a coordinator. A couple of days before I actually started the job, they said, oh, we have an actual service manager role. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I took that job, and then I got into sales eventually, and then I got into management, and then I moved to the then Home Depot Center right after David Beckham was signed, and then David Beckham left for a little bit, then he came back. So very tumultuous time there, but very exciting, and then came back to Staples Center and now Crypto.com Arena 22, almost 23 years later. And I'm so blessed and humbled by the whole experience. And from day one, taking a coordinator job and saying yes to something that wasn't necessarily in my own mental playbook of what should happen next, but humbly going into it and saying, just follow your heart and follow what feels like the right thing to do, and stop caring about the money and the title, and just get in and find your true passion, and the rest will work out. And it has.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Well, again, for those of our listening audience that are not familiar with Crypto.com Arena or the downtown Los Angeles area, your place of work is the epicenter of LA Live. So LA Live encompasses not just the arena, but restaurants and the LA Convention Center, which is about to go through a pretty sizable expansion and renovation, as is the broader footprint of LA Live. And we're less than 3 years away from the LA 2028 games. And Crypto.com Arena is going to be a featured venue, as is the Convention Center going to be a featured venue, as is the broader LA Live footprint. So you are in it in a big way. And by the way, let's be clear, when you got there, 5, 6, 7, 8 years out of SC, LA Live it didn't look anything like it does today.
It was surface parking. It was surface parking. I would finish working a late night event as a manager on duty, and I remember having to call security to walk me to my car, which was, a couple blocks away, not a lot of street lights, and downtown LA. It was a completely different environment, and that's another part of what I think is so special about my journey is I've been able to go to school and live and work in an area that is so near to my heart and so much a part of my entire journey, and watching the landscape change and watching the dynamics of my job change and watch everything kind of happen around me while I can be in this one place has been really magical. And I know a lot of people move around, and I have not had to, and we talk about great bosses, and I haven't had to leave to go find them. There's so many great leaders that have come through this organization that I'm so blessed to have been able to work with and for, that I really haven't had to do as many of the moves as some other people, and I think that's really unique.
Well, and the company worked for AEG. AEG stands for the Anschutz Entertainment Group. Again, for those that aren't super dialed into our sporting and entertainment world. All of that said, I mentioned at the outset that Crypto.com arena, if not the busiest arena in the world, is certainly among the top three. And your sister venue in London, the O2,
Yeah.
has to be right up there as well. You've got an organization that has the breadth and depth of a very significant sports and entertainment company. And after you got to, and maybe it was the producer lady at Regency, I don't know, but you're going to tell us one or maybe more than one leaders, bosses, mentors that you've had, what stood out with them and what attributes, learnings, and key, if you will, nuggets did you take away and still use those today?
So I will touch on my first boss, the producer, but when I think back, and the reason that this is one of the great leaders that I was able to work for is because of the story leading up to it. I was a vice president at the time, and we had some turnover, and I thought, okay, this seat's been, the SVP seat has been vacant for a little bit. So I felt like, okay, I'm just going to work really hard. I'm going to do everything I can to continue proving that I'm the next logical choice. And I thought, learned as much as I could, developed as much as I could, and progressed as far as I could to be the obvious choice. Well, I was on vacation in Vietnam, and I remember I was walking the beach with my cell phone because I was working on vacation, which isn't amazing, but
we all do it. Come on.
These are the things you do. But anyway, I'm walking the beach with my cell phone, and I remember my boss at the time calls me, and he said, it was actually right before I was leaving, and he said, "You're going to get a new boss. We just hired somebody, and great guy. So, he'll reach out to you, or I'll reach out to you. This is all going to happen over the holiday, and when you come back, it'll all be sorted." And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get on a plane and I am furious. There was no explanation. There was no warning. There was no coaching, nothing. It was just information drop. See ya. Have a great holiday.
Right. So pause here for just a second. You're talking about you were the vice president at Staples Center. The SVP had left. You felt like you were the perfect fit for that job, given not just your tenure, but how you had progressed to that point. You go on vacation and you get the call that says, not only weren't you considered for the job, but we hired somebody that you're going to now report to.
That was right before I went on my
Ouch.
vacation. So that was right before I went on vacation. There were like rumblings, and so we were at the company holiday party, and it's like, did they really hire somebody? Yeah, I'm hearing that they did. Okay, well, I got the call, and I am just shell-shocked. I go on vacation, now I'm walking the beach, and I get another call, and I get a call, and it's my, the boss's boss. And he's like, "Hey, do you have the biggest office right now?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." Because just to reverse it for a second here, like the seat was vacant for a while. Like I was doing everything for a while. And then said the call, and "You have the biggest office?" "Yes, I do." "All right, so great. We're going to need you to get all your crap out so this new person can move in." And I'm like, I'm in Vietnam. And I just couldn't believe it. I wanted to throw my phone in the ocean. Came back from the trip. We had an office assistant at the time that managed the move and did all the things. And I so clearly remember feeling so burned and so betrayed and so bewildered about what just happened in this short amount of time without a lot of runway for understanding, talking, communicating. And so I was really mentally against what was happening coming back, and I didn't know the person. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I still, felt a little rub.
I mean, let's be clear. You were pissed.
Pissed. I was so pissed. So pissed. And now I look back and I go, that was the best thing that ever happened, Michele. You didn't get chosen for a reason. And now everything that doesn't happen for me, I look at why didn't it happen and what was the reason. The reason it didn't happen for me isn't because I didn't have a skill set. It's because I didn't have the experience. I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough, leadership experience at a level that they thought was going to be valuable for this role. So for whatever reason, and again, I didn't know it at the time, but I went in and I got past all of the anger, frustration, and I said, "Michele, This is happening. There's nothing that you're going to be able to do to change it. So you know what you should do? Lean all the way into it, learn as much as you can about this person, and figure out why they got hired over you. And I did. And that became one of my greatest bosses. And the reason I say that is because of A, how it started, how I changed and shifted the way that I was thinking about what happened. And instead of it being, why did that happen to me, right? It's so cliche, but it's like, why is this happening for me? Like, what's in it for me? There is something in this for me. I just have to figure out what it is. And he was an amazing mentor, amazing coach. He came in with just a ton of great kind of protocols and philosophies and structures that we didn't have before. And one of the greatest takeaways, one of the nuggets that I remember from him was that our best asset is our people. And I have never forgotten that. And it resonated so much with me because that is always how I've led, is to really work on putting our people first. And in his words, they're the best return on our investment. If you have people that are broken and tired and burnt out and you have a great strategy, they're not going to be able to execute it. So who cares? If you have all of these goals and things that you need to hit, but you don't have people that feel inspired or don't have the tools or are too afraid to ask or feel afraid or insecure in the space that they're operating in, you're not going to get maximum output ever. And so that people quotient was really something that stayed with me, and I learned a ton from that experience about myself, and also from him.
Well, that's the first takeaway for me. I mean, you believe you were right for the job. You didn't get the benefit of any conversation about why you weren't being selected by anyone in the organization, other than being asked to vacate the largest office in the system. But to be able to take a step back and be reflective enough upon what just happened to you and then adjust that attitude the way you described it is amazing. I dare say that if 10 people face the exact same thing that you did, less than half would have been self-aware enough and intentional enough to shift the attitude the way you did. And then clearly in that attitude shift, you allowed for your talent to come front and center because you leaned in and you phrased it just the right way. Instead of this happening to me, why is this happening for me? I love that. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it was a really amazing exercise for me that I still work on, is just this ego management. And it started with my first beginnings here. I was a sales manager in New York. I was clearing 6 figures easily in the 90s. I was doing big things. I was working with big brands, and I wanted to come in and make more commission and do more sales, bigger things. And I thought, wow, Staples Center is the perfect place for that. And that wasn't available to me. So a few levels back, right, to start as a coordinator, I really had to humble myself and think about, well, okay, how and why are you letting that define you? It's a title, okay? So what? It's a coordinator. I get it. It's not, a manager. It's not the same money. It's not whatever. But in that humility, I was able to see the bigger picture, which was get in and start navigating your way through the company from the inside instead of the outside. Start understanding who the people are and start developing the relationships that, by the way, I still have 20 years later with our members, with a few people that have still stayed in the organization. And beyond just the crap, you've been here for 20 plus years, don't you have anything better to do? I look at it as 20 years being able to stay within the same framework, the same company, and weather a lot of the different storms and things that have happened internally is just as, if not harder, than sometimes moving and reinventing, because you have to really understand the politics. You have to really understand how to pivot within all the things that are happening
Right.
around you and still be inspired to learn and grow and seek out mentors inside, outside of the company and continue on a trajectory that maybe isn't as traditional as what other people do.
Right. Well, it's evident. I mean, those we talked about it earlier. I didn't tick them off for you, but attitude and talent are two of the five attributes that I think are qualitative aspects of what every great leader has. The other three are character, energy, and drive.
Mm.
You cobble all those together, every single person we work with, either reporting up or managing down, has some combination of those five elements. And a really worthwhile exercise is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, these are five things that I kind of was born with. And what does the recipe look like for me? And where do I need to shore up, extend? And that moment on the beach, good, you didn't throw your phone in the ocean. That moment where you actually took it upon yourself to make a very significant attitude shift. You rose above the emotion. You rose above what you felt like was a slight, if you will. And here you are. You turned the proverbial basket of lemons into a nice pitcher full of lemonade, if I can be so cliche-ish. So here you are. You're a senior vice president. You're overseeing all premium, I mean, does that include the American Express suite? Does it include the Lexus Lounge? I mean, I know because I've been to the arena dozens of times. So I know where all these places are. And you've got how many suites now in the arena?
We have 178.
Yikes.
Find another arena that has 178 suites, but we have 178. We do have the American Express Centurion Lounge, which is on the suite levels, but I do not manage. Everything else that is on our 3 suite levels falls under our purview. We've got 26 tables and lounges. We have over 2,400 premier seats. Within the suites category, we have 4 tunnel suites, 4 terrace suites. We've got the Hyde Lounge. We have a Champion Suite. We have a Lexus Club for members exclusively. We have the Yamava Club. We have a lot of hospitality. And more than anything, I have an incredible team of people that care deeply about what we do and are passionate about moving the needle and being a resource to everyone that comes in the building and everyone we get to work with and for. And in that, the work is super inspiring. And I feel so blessed every day to be able to come here. It's different every day.
Yeah, it can't not be. It's got to be different every day. How many events per year?
So we've probably got, we have our anchor tenants, right? You mentioned the Kings and the Lakers and the Sparks. And then on top of that, you've got concerts, family shows, what have you. So we'll go anywhere from 110 minimum to 150 plus. So it just depends on any given year. But then you also look at...
That's a lot of nights of shaking hands and kissing babies, Michele.
It really is. But that energy absolutely drives me. When you think about being in the office, going past 2 doors, and now you're in an 18,000 person arena, it's the back and the front of stage. But when this is your livelihood and this is what you know to be the most inspiring work that you can do, going through those 2 doors is like going out on stage. You feel like a performer.
And you said it. I mean, you've been working with suite owners, suite holders, members for 20 plus years, and you've made friends, and they know you, and they trust you, and they respect you. And if they've got an issue or a problem, I'm going to guess you're on somebody's speed dial. And they're going to let you know. And being the effective leader you are, you're going to the extent you can, make whatever the issue is, assuming it's an issue, might not even be, it might be a thank you. Hey, Michele, this is the best thing I've ever seen, right? But you never know who's on the other end of the phone and what it's going to sound like, right?
You never know. And that's also part of the The exciting part of the job is you've got to be able to, and this is again why looking back on all the things that I've done and why the travel and the waitressing and the working in entertainment and being in sales and living in New York, all of these things that I thought were just selfish moves at the time that I felt like were right for me, all served a purpose. Because when you are dealing with humanity, there is nothing more important than going out into the world and understanding what different cultures, what different people, what different circumstances bring out in humans. And when you see the best and the worst of, and then you also see culturally how different and how radical the shift can be for the way that people perceive and the way that people communicate and the way that people entertain and operate, you just have a bigger appreciation for, more tolerance, and a stronger likelihood that you'll be able to make a connection. And that's what we're here to do, is make a connection. And
That's
there's
right.
nothing better for me than having had all of that experience. Literally, I think about waitressing and how that applied. I think about traveling and how that applies, and how my first job and working for that producer applies. You get a scenario that is unscripted, and you have got to figure out how to make the best of it. And you have to figure out what resources you need to call up, either from your own personal tool belt or outside of you. And you also, again, have to have some self-awareness that asking for help in some scenarios is really okay and really the best thing that is going to, help resolve the situation.
Well, yeah, it's beyond okay. I mean, listen, you can't do it by yourself. And you know your team. And the only thing scripted about live sports and live entertainment is that it's going to go off script within the first 5 minutes. And then you are going to have to respond to something nobody thought of, or this or that or the other thing. That's just the nature of live. And it happens all the time, whether it's a, power outage or somebody blows a TV in their suite or whatever. The bizarre things, and I'm not going to have you list off because I know you've seen some ridiculous things in the context of, 20 years at now Crypto.com Arena. It's got to be amazing. So in all of this, the arena itself is literally like, I don't know, the Empire State Building. It's just complex, right? Once you get inside the building, and listen, the consumer, the patron, the fan, the game goer, all they want is a great experience, right? They want quick to get in, easy to find their seat, help along the way. Oh, right, there's the food and beverage stand. So all of that is so well laid out at Crypto.com Arena. But what none of them ever see or rarely see is what you live with every single night. And that's the behind the scenes production value of what you all put together, because it is amazing. So share with the audience a little bit about what it takes from a management perspective to bring a show off in the way that y'all do it.
We need like an entire season on your podcast to break that down. There are so many people involved. There's so much strategy. There's so much that goes into any given night. And just in our little fiefdom of premium, the communication, the marketing, the know before you goes, the ticketing elements, the catering, the special touches, all of the moments that happen in the building, all of the warming events, all of the behind the scenes that we do, which is a lot. We're analyzing constantly. Sellers are, their KPIs are insane, the amount of work that they have to do to get one live person on a call anymore, let alone get somebody down to the arena. And then on a game day or on a show, how are we mobilizing everybody in the building to create the best possible experience for everybody? Well, like you said, it starts with getting to the building, right? Or getting to their parking structure. From the parking structure, how are they what's their experience getting into the building? How is, walking through Evolve and not having to take everything out of your pockets and opening your bags and doing. There's so much that's evolving with technology and making it a more seamless and contactless experience, and all of those things are enhancing the journey. And then once you're in the building, there's so many things that go into it, from the ice and the conversions, and you can't even begin to understand what happens in a week here. We just had an event last night on the floor. The Sparks had a dinner. We've had Monster Truck was before that, and we just had mounds of dirt and these huge trucks ripping around the building. Before that, you have another Sparks game, another concert. So it's constantly turning. But all that to say, it takes an army to pull off any given event. And we now move through seasons fluidly, not without disruptions. But we've got it so down. Our teams are so dialed up that we just run. It's such an incredible operation. And now our jobs is really to just make sure that we're doing everything that we can control. There's so much we can't, right? So what we can control is that once you're in the building, once you're watching the game, we don't know what's going to happen. But your kid's having a birthday. We can go in there and make sure that he gets a birthday cake and he has an amazing experience. You have a ticket issue. How quickly are we responding to that? How well are we addressing whatever your needs are when you're in the building? And beyond that, like, it's out of our control. But everything leading up to getting in the door, selling the seat, creating that service experience, and understanding who our members are, like, I feel like we're the best in the business when it comes to that, and it's gotten a lot harder. So we've had to get a lot more savvy with the way that we prospect, the way that we provide experiences, and what our consumers expect.
That's such an interesting perspective, because the general, I would say, sentiment out there is to hear you say, well, our teams are so dialed now. You're not on autopilot, never in the live event business. Everybody knows that. But as you all continue to make it easier and more fun for your guests, at the same time, you just said it, your jobs are getting harder and harder. So even though the world of technology is advancing at warp speed, and it is, you mentioned Evolve. Those are patron screening gates where an individual now gets a chance to just walk into the venue, doesn't have to take off shoes, doesn't have to, do any of the other stuff. It's just, that's where the tech is. That said, now you get a lot more people a lot quicker into the building, which puts pressure on your team, right?
Absolutely. And we were talking about this before you started recording, but how the ticket industry has changed so much. We've had to educate everybody. It was like when paper tickets went away, you thought the world was going to end. These iterations are meant to facilitate more ease, more fluidity in the entire process. And these things continue to happen, and we just keep getting better and better and better at it. And everyone that leads teams in this organization have adapted so well to whatever technology is out there to bring a client experience to life that is so different than from when I started, from when you and I started in this industry. It looks so much different.
Well, your energy and your attitude is really amazing, because you've lived this now year in, year out, and we've said it a couple of times, 20 plus years. So I'm going to, we've got a few minutes left, and I always ask everybody the same 3 questions, but I'm going to ask you 4.
Okay.
Yes. And the first one is, in your entire Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena experience, what is the single, if you can, the single most amazing event that you were in the building for? It might have been a Stanley Cup final. It might have been an NBA championship. It might have been Taylor Swift or beyond. I don't know. But I want to hear Michelle's number one on the hit parade.
So I've said it before, and I've been here for a lot of unbelievable moments, like take your breath away moments. And the one that I just keep coming back to is in my first year when I was a service manager. I was walking the suite levels with my then boss, and she said, do you want to pop into one of the obstructed suites? There's a little bit of a view. You can see the performers right now and get a little bit of a sneak peek. And I said, wow, you can do that? I would love to. Little did I know, right? We snuck into a suite and we sat down, and it was Simon and Garfunkel. We've got a 20,000 person packed arena. There's 2 dudes on a stage, 2 guitars, 2 microphones. You would think it's the production value. You would think it's the buzzer beater, the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals. For me, that was the most memorable moment, because the awe that I had sitting in that chair, feeling so small, having just gotten into this industry, and then seeing the magnitude of what we're able to do and how many lives we are able to touch, was forever something that stayed with me, because to this day, I am just still in awe and wonder about how many lives we get to impact. And it is an absolute privilege to be able to do that on a small and a large stage, and things have changed. I mean, Charlie XCX looks nothing like Simon and Garfunkel, but man, there's a fandom for that, and there's an audience for everybody that comes through here, which I'm learning. But that moment for me, that concert was really special, and I felt like I could have been in a tiny little piano bar in New York. The sound was amazing. You felt energy in the building, and nothing was happening but two dudes singing, but you felt this collective energy of just awe and respect, and that feeling has never left me.
Man, I love that story. That is awesome. I mean, those two guys, two dudes. Yeah, but the
with
body of
nothing
work,
but mics
right,
and guitars.
right. And you could hear a pin drop because everybody knew that's what was going on, and respect for the talent and the artistry that those two guys brought every time they went on stage is amazing, right?
But that's the beauty of what we get to do every single time we open our doors, is get a collection of people that all want to see the same thing. In that 2 hours, 4 hours, however long, you have an audience that all wants to experience the same thing. You have a collective movement. You have a bunch of individuals that are now a collection. And this energy of continuity and like-mindedness, and leave whatever you just came from at the door. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to experience something that I could not produce if I tried. I have to be here to experience it. I have to be in this building to experience it. It's not something you can do virtually. It is not something that you can sit behind a phone and have that same experience. You just can't. You have to be in this building.
Well, not that you need a boost in ticket sales, for sure, but you just sold a boatload of tickets.
Wishful thinking.
Yes, no, true. All right, listen, we've got just a few minutes left, and here are the 3 hot questions coming at you. Kind of the flip side of the question I just asked you. So the first question that I ask everybody is your favorite mistake. That's where you messed up, and you knew you messed up, and the people around you knew you messed up, but you managed through it. You learned, you came out the other side, and sort of the, key learnings that might have come out of that mistake.
So many. I'll pick my favorite story. Again, this was under the boss that I embraced and became a great mentor for me. But we have a big event here every year called the Grammys. And the Grammys is an incredible display of talent and showcases the very best of our brand. And we bring out just all the heavy hitters. We have an amazing party on our City View Terrace, and it's always a lot of fun. Well, one year I decided that my fun scale was going to be off the Richter charts, if you will. And so I was having a really good time. I think, and it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't anything that was, oh my God, get her out of the building. It was just, I was having a really good time, and I overserved myself. So the next day, but I wasn't alone. I felt like, wow, in years past, there was lots of me. I just didn't get the memo the next year that everybody was dialing it back a little bit. So I show up to work the next day, which you do, right? You go hard and you show up the next day.
No matter how you feel.
Yeah. So I show up to the office and my boss calls me in. He's like, hey, so your name came up, and not in a great way. And, your display last night was extra, and we need you to be a little bit more cognizant of that. And I was like, but everybody parties at this thing. Like, how am I being called out? Didn't matter, right? Your name came up. You've got to do better. And you're lucky this is me telling you and not somebody else. So, we good here? And I said, we are good here. And that lesson for me, because our industry is very social, we have access to a host of open bars and carving stations and just incredible displays of hospitality. And the real lesson here is around hubris. And I talk to my team about this a lot because it is okay to be confident. Right? It is really scary when you have too much hubris and start to think, well, there's rules, but like they don't really apply to me. They always apply to you.
In fact, one could argue they apply to you more.
Yeah. And I wasn't arrogant in what I was doing. I was just not cognizant, and I was not thinking through how my actions could be perceived and how that optically wasn't a good representation of myself or my company at that time. And so that lesson, that through line has been something that's stayed with me forever. And I do look at opportunities where there is alcohol or there is, opportunities, for people to overserve themselves and what have you. And I know that you have to come into these environments very intentional about how you're going to operate, knowing that there are a lot of people always watching and the rules always apply. And they do to everybody. When you look at politics, when you look at CEOs, everybody in every industry, at some point, there's been some example where, dude, the rules still apply to you. I don't know why you thought you can get away with that. And so I've certainly learned, again, to be way more humble in acknowledging my boundaries and what I should and should not be doing.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I dare say most all of us have been there.
For sure.
Got a similar lesson. So good good when one learns it and takes that under, personal counsel. So the second one is, and you just talked about Simon and Garfunkel, but this is now the best live show that you've ever seen that featured a female singer-songwriter or a female-led band.
Okay. Band, I get group. I don't know what you
call it.
Group,
yeah. You can,
Again, this kind of goes way back, but Indigo Girls, I really love them. I started listening to them when I was in college. My girlfriend had a CD and we listened to their music all the time, and I absolutely love them. I saw them at a festival when I was living in New York. I saw them here when I was in LA. They don't tour a lot, but I really dig them. And there's been a lot of other ones in between, but that one really sticks with me because it was an early one. And then the most recent was at the Grammys. Tracy Chapman did Fast Car, and I about died. I thought that was the coolest
She's got pipes,
thing.
right? Oh my God.
But she hasn't been touring or singing, or I haven't known her to do any of that. And she did it with, I think was it Zach Bryan? She did
that would be good. Yeah.
And he did a remake of it, but she killed it. And I was absolutely floored because I had no idea that she was going to be on stage, and she was another favorite of mine.
Awesome. Indigo Girls and Tracy Chapman. Two really good ones.
Didn't see those coming, did you?
Right. No, I didn't see those coming.
Wait, who's yours?
Oh, there's so many, but I was fortunate. Remember a festival called Kaboo?
Yeah.
Here in San Diego, the very first year, the VIP night, and I was privileged and lucky to be a part of that. Sheryl Crow for 300 people for almost 2 hours. And it was so intimate. I loved Sheryl Crow. In fact, the favorite mistake is a Sheryl Crow song, and that question is an homage to Sheryl. So that was the single most impressive live show that the lady, for me, put on. It was awesome. So the last question, and this is one that I love. It's my favorite one. Your favorite word and why. Everybody knows it's what we say, it's what we don't say, especially in a leadership role, communication. You spoke of it, threaded throughout this conversation, how important communication is. So your favorite word and why?
I'm going to cheat because I'm going to use an acronym, but my favorite word to use here in the workplace is ICE, and it stands for integrity, confidence, and enthusiasm. And for me, that encapsulates everything you need to know about how to be successful and what headwinds you should be watching out for if you don't exercise those three things. So those have all been real lessons. Integrity speaks for itself. I know Courtney Carter, my friend, spoke about this on a previous podcast. I spoke about confidence over arrogance and hubris. Being confident is fantastic. Being arrogant is not. And enthusiasm, just raw energy and having enthusiasm for what you do, for the job that you're doing, for the life that you're living, for the people that you get an impact. And the way that you communicate with enthusiasm is probably the most contagious thing that I can think about. And if you don't have it, I don't know how you can expect people to want to engage with you or in whatever it is you're trying to sell.
Well, okay, so that's really awesome because for the past 45 to 50 minutes, amazing that we've been at it that long.
Wow.
You've demonstrated all three of those attributes. And I cannot thank you enough, Michele. You have been awesome to join the Best Boss Ever podcast.
Thanks for having me, Carl. This has been a lot of fun.
It has. Thank you.
Yeah, truly.